The media will talk about Israel's role and remind us which religion is the religion of peace. But we know the truth. Trump pointed it out and was called racist for it. How many victims resulted from Democrats mocking our fears about the border? And like always, the media focuses on the Trump administration's reaction, not the fiery attack itself. On CNN, former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe slammed Kash Patel for calling it terrorism. CNN national security analyst Juliet Kayyem did the same. Because it's never the attack, it's the reaction. So as normal people fume that this illegal was led into exact terror, shameless Dems feign disgust, then retreat to uselessness, or worse. How soon before Chris Van Hollen visits and orders a mimosa with 2 straws? Don't order the cocktail. But it's simple. Vicious terror attacks are carried out against Americans in the name of a faraway cause that's driven by lies and hate. You can now kill an American here in the name of intifada, pushed by well-funded West-hating radicals. But for the left and the media, there's always something worse than terrorism. It's being wrong. For us, a terror attack spurs anger and frustration, but the media, they go on the defensive, because it is far worse for them to admit they backed the wrong side. There goes their false sense of moral superiority, the kind that justified burning looted cities, the kind seen on those signs on front lawns in suburbs, signs in which the inhabitants profess their sanctimony. But there's nothing on those signs that speaks to the things we experience. Why isn't there a sign that states the obvious, like, we don't kill Jews here? Or we don't believe in protecting violent illegals? You know, it could read like this. We don't kill Jews here. We believe in legal immigration. We defend the Second Amendment. We want strong borders. We believe men can't be women, and we can't stand Jesse Waters. But, you know, maybe people don't want a Molotov thrown through their living room window. So they pretend that evil can only be Trump and America, which means every real evil can stroll right in. Let's welcome tonight's guest. He's Hispanic, who makes liberals panic. Former Trump advisor Steve Cortez. Even motivational speakers tell him to give up. Actor, writer, and comedian Jamie Lissow. She went from partying with rock stars to avoiding Brian Kilmeade in the halls. Host of Kennedy Saves the World podcast, Kennedy. And he's the reason CVS ran out of Father's Day cards. New York Times bestselling author, comedian, and former NWA World Champion Tyrus. So, Steve, pretty glum topic for a Monday show, but what is your take on the reaction to this and how it came to be?
Well, first, not glum, though. Your nickname for me, your motto, the Hispanic who makes lefties panic. I love it. Do I owe you for that?
Yes, you do. I get a 10% royalty in perpetuity. I learned that from Kevin O'Leary.
Okay, wonderful. Well, listen, on this, grave attack, incredibly violent attack upon Americans, I think a couple things are worth noting. First is that Americans need to be armed, but particularly Jewish Americans, right? This is a very unfortunate, I think, reminder of that stark reality. But secondly, that Biden's open border, leaving the front door of America wide open for years, has incredibly intense consequences that may last, unfortunately, for years. How many more cretins like him are there in America who came in unvetted, unwelcome, but nonetheless present in our country? Thankfully, President Trump has gotten to work immediately on this, and the border is already under control just weeks into this new term. So as awful as this situation is, we can also celebrate that it's unlikely more jerks like this are coming in right now under Trump.
Mm-hmm. But well said. Jamie, you are unwelcome and unvetted. Mm-hmm. I cannot wait to hear your finely crafted jokes on this topic. Go ahead, start.
Well, first of all, I don't trust anybody with no shirt and jeans.
I
know. No one without a shirt and jeans has ever showed up and done a good deed.
That is true. That is true.
I heard,
well done.
I heard when Kamala heard this story, she was like, Molotov cocktail, I'll have one. And then she goes, it's 9 a.m. somewhere.
3.
You got 3 so far. I'm amazed.
I do feel for the people of Colorado. It's just they're great people. It's obviously a tragedy. When I went to Boulder, Colorado, I went right where this kind of happened, right around the corner. And when I called him, I go, I'm gonna be at the club at like 7. And the guy goes, okay, but he goes, bring oxygen. And I go, listen, Greg, I'm not the most famous comedian in the world, but I feel like that's something the club should provide.
4.
Well done, my friend.
Can he go for 5? The crowd's excited. And here's the pitch. Swung on and missed.
No, he's going to pass.
I'm gonna pass.
Good for you, Kennedy. Don't you get the sense that it's actually the fact that they might be wrong is worse than a terror act and for the media, because they've been pushing this narrative. We heard about this massacre that apparently happened over the weekend, and then it just kind of went away.
Yeah, and that in and of itself is part of the problem of this anti-Semitism, this malignant anti-Semitism that has taken hold, and it's deadly in this country. And when it's not deadly, that is accidental, because it is intended to take as many lives and cause as much harm as possible. And, unfortunately, some of the most vocal members of the Free Palestine movement are also very murderous. So, a week and a half ago, I was in Poland with Guy Benson and Emily Compagno and Mary Catherine Ham and Molly Hemingway. And we went to Treblinka, which was a death camp, an extermination camp. We went to Majdanek, which was a concentration camp, Auschwitz and Birkenau, where 1.5 million people were killed. And so, and as we're going through this journey, it's really heavy. And it's kind of stunning that what happened there, the psychological manipulation and the extermination of millions and millions of Jews and Catholic Poles, there are a lot of people who actively hope that they could make that happen again. And, they may not have the sophistication of the SS, but you do have this murderous intent of people who are hell-bent. And while we were there, the young couple that was just about to get engaged in D.C., who worked for the Israeli embassy, they were at a Jewish museum in D.C., and they were gunned down. Josh Shapiro, the Jewish governor of Pennsylvania, his house was set on fire. So my question is, if the media turns away, are you doing it in a way that is almost complicit and fanning the flames of other hateful people who really would like to, in their own awful way, accomplish what the Nazis did during World War II at those camps?
Fair point. Jamie, you got a joke for that? Just kidding. Tyrus, the identity politics thing is interesting to me. I don't know if you caught on, like how it just kind of goes away.
Well, I think we need to, there's 2 things about it. I don't know how many videos over the last 3-4 years that we saw of military-aged young men in shape from all walks of life walking into this country. And then at midnight being flown to different parts of America.
Yeah.
And now we're starting to see some of them come out. But here's the deal. They're being protected and helped by Americans. So if you look at it, if I was to do that for somebody, I would be held accountable. If I knew somebody was doing something and I allowed them in my house and I helped them do things, like the people who gave this guy a work visa need to be held accountable. Your actions caused a massacre. And he's not even unapologetic. He was like, hey, no big deal. He confessed on the spot. That is blatant arrogance. That is to the point of evil to where, and he didn't just get like that by himself. He just chose to be first. So now the good news is that we have ICE in place. We have law enforcement who's backed and has dignity again. But the problem is we don't know where any of them really are. And when you have sanctuary cities that are these governors that sit there with their smug asses and hide these murderous men, they didn't come here looking for the American dream, because if they did, as soon as they got into California or Texas, they would look for jobs, because that's where the jobs are at when you're good with your hands. They'd be just making money and sending home to their families, like actual immigrants who come to this country. They came here with a purpose. It also wasn't a small mistake when we look back at those films. All of them had nice, clean shoes. All of them had nice stuff, and they had little wristbands. If you remember, where am I going? Oh, Philadelphia. Who was filling this out for them? We're starting to see this, and it's disheartening and scary, because now, to your point where you said Jewish people need to start carrying guns, no, everybody does. Because as soon as you, no, seriously, you cannot, Greg makes jokes, he's a talented guy. He goes somewhere and they're like, well, he's from the right. He's part of the problem. So I'm going to be a hero because I'm going to take down a Gutfeld. You don't do that because I got kids to support, as you heard in the beginning. So 5. But it's terrible the fact that we're seeing this, and the media, they are part of the problem. They help with the hiding. They help with all this stuff. They're the propaganda media of the left, and they still are okay with what is going on. That's why they're not covering the story, because what we always talked about, they cracked a few eggs. It's one thing. There's 700,000 ones that are doing good.
Yeah. All right. Let's do something lighter. Something really light. Tampon Timmy.
Woo!
Yeah. Thank God for Tamp.
If you'll be in the New York area and would like tickets to see Gutfeld, go to foxnews.com/Gutfeld and click on the link to join our studio audience.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.